Welcome to another episode of If They Won't Listen. I am your host for tonight, Leon Andrews, letting you guys know that Rich might be late today by 10 minutes. Hopefully he'll hop on 10 minutes from now. We'll carry on a conversation. And if you're wondering where Spencer is at, unfortunately, he's not feeling very well, so I gave him the night off so he can recover from that. It happens to the best of us. I know he apologizes. He sends out shout outs to everybody who is listening and who is watching, but he wasn't up to it, and it happens to all of us. So I told him, dude, don't even trip. Just take the night off. It's just better to recover, to make yourself stressed out, as I was last week when they shot this show last Sunday. I wasn't up to it. I just wasn't feeling well. As you guys, I mentioned on the show, I've got into a car accident recently. I was rear-ended from behind, as one does when they get rear-ended. It usually comes 100%. It often comes from behind. I've heard. I could be wrong. May have to duck go it, but those are the statistics that that I'm pretty sure everyone knows at this point. After the accident, I've been just dealing with some stuff, mostly just kinks in my neck, kinks in the back, twinges, dizziness, just not feeling 100%. And last Sunday it hit me pretty hard, and I had to take a break. So now I feel a little bit more okay. I'm currently seeing a chiropractor. I'm receiving treatment at this moment and going 3 times a week to get something. I had to do an MRI recently. I had to do an MRI. Both me and my wife had to do MRIs to report this back to show what kind of damage we received. Hopefully we can get that coming in soon so that the doctor, our chiropractor, knows what she has to do, what it helps her know better on how to treat us. So she's a chiropractor and a acupuncturist. So I actually been having needles being stuck to the back of my neck and where the base of my skull, and then on the lower back where the back meets the ass. What do they call that? The ass neck? I think that's what it's called. It's the ass neck. That's where I've been getting a lot of the in my back. Never experienced before in my life. So I remember I kind of postulated, I wanted to know what acupuncture feels like. And now I know with 100% certainty what acupuncture feels like, having a bunch of needles just stuck to your back and stuck to your neck. It's been interesting. And then, of course, the chiropractor afterwards adjusts us. And that's been really, really helping the both of us. So we've been really appreciating. However, we do have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning to leave by 7 o'clock to be there before 7:30. It's a whole thing. I don't think I've ever woken up that early since high school. I don't think only as far back as high school have I ever woke up that early in the morning. And now I seem to be getting used to it. So. But right here, right now, it's If They Won't Listen with Leon Andrews and a glass of Roscato. Yes, that's right, Roscato, like rosé mixed with Moscato. It is a red wine from the fine country of Italy. I don't know the name of the brand that I bought. Maybe next time I'll post it. You know what? I'll post it up in stories. Just follow me on my Insta. On the gram, baby. You can always find me on alternative_Zen. That's how y'all can find me. You already know what it is. So you can, I'll post a little picture up there for y'all. So you know what I'm drinking. I have learned months ago when I've learned months ago when I went to a liquor store that wine from California is terrible because they go really nilly with the use of pesticides on their grapes so they keep the bugs off. And it always ends up in really mixing up and making the wine taste not so great. Whereas in Italy and other countries in Europe, they use a different kind of standard, excluding the use of pesticides on their grapes. And I will tell you that the taste in California wine compared to Italian wine is marketable. All right, it's a very noticeable difference in this wine. Let me tell you. Fine. Nice, sweet. nice and sweet with a tart aftertaste. Tastes really good. But we're not here for the wine tasting, guys. We're here for you. If they won't listen, who are you guys? I love you guys. Every day, baby. But we're going to we're going through a lot of things, but we got positive things going on in our lives. It's not always bad. I will tell you that recently, though, we are dealing with our AC breaking. Hence why I'm in a tanky right now, also known as an A-shirt. You may have noticed this in another episode previously to this one where I had to wear one of these. And that is because my house, it is at currently 30 degrees Celsius. Now, for people who don't know what Celsius is, that is roughly 87, 88 degrees Fahrenheit. It is downright balmy inside of my house right now. My AC is busted. My management company is trying to fix it. They have an AC people coming out here. They said they don't have the part. They won't have the part until Monday. My air conditioner broke last Tuesday. You do the math. Now I got to wait till Monday. That's tomorrow. And now I got to wait for this thing to come out. And then they got to have to come and fix it. It's quite ridiculous. It's been really hot in this house to the point that even sleeping bare naked does not help. It is still so balmy in here. And the AC company decided to lend us portable units to keep just at least a room cool. However, they failed to give us, they failed to give us really good ones. And by really good ones, I mean, they didn't remember to plug the holes where the condensation comes out. So instead of letting the tank fill up and then having to be cashed and then brought back in, they instead left it open. So what ended up happening after about 2 days use of this air conditioning, my floor to my room has been flooded with water. Fantastic. That's another thing I'm dealing with. So I dried up as much as I could. We called the management company to our rent for our lease. We explained to them that you guys are responsible for this. This wouldn't have happened if you guys fixed the air conditioning had it fixed right the first time instead of having people dick around with it. This is where we're currently at. Hopefully everything gets taken care of and they do a good job. I know that they've been dealing with this because the reason why the part is got to wait till Monday because it's apparently on back order according to the AC people. So that's the shit that we're dealing with, but we're making it work. And not only that, what I ended up doing was taking a tube that I had, pop it inside the hole where the condensation was coming up and using layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of duct tape so that it would stay and be kind of sealed. And then I put it up on a small little stool or like a not a bench, but a little seat. My wife uses it to sit in front of the vanity that she has in our room. And then I have a bucket right underneath it. So just in case of any water spills, and then the tube actually leads into the bucket. So that's what I did. And hopefully everything just gets taken care of. But other than that, everything has just been going good. My wife is very happy. I'm very happy. She's got followers up the wazoo, coming just up the wazoo. One of the most interesting things that happened with my wife recently is that she started after after the convention that we went to together, and the first time in years, and we cosplayed. She started a cosplay account on Gram, and it went from starting out at 0 to now currently she broke 400 this past Friday, I want to say. And now it's actually at 400. I just checked it. As of now, it is at 413 followers. And that she started that account in goodness, I think late August. No, not even. Yes, late August, because it was a week before my car accident. That's right. So it was August 21st where we went to that convention in Orlando and she cosplayed. So she set it up just after that whole event. So that about a month, not even a month, and she's already at over 400 followers, and it's quite incredible. I'm very impressed with this woman. This is my wife. I love her. I love her so much. And the fact that she could just do anything and put her mind to it and then make it work is just absolutely incredible. It's a very admirable quality that she has. And it's one of the things I find most attractive about her is her ambition, and then the drive to, as soon as she's interested in it, there's a drive to do it. And it's quite impressive. And the other day, randomly last week, I was driving to go run some errands and I went behind this pickup truck, and this pickup truck had an advertisement for a a tabletop gaming place that's not too far. I looked at, had the whole thing, the address and everything, and it was right there. And then I decided to follow them on Gram. And then this past week, last Thursday, we decided to go check it out. They're called Table Action Games, located in Dunedin, Florida. Really cool place, very small little venue. Not really used to smaller venues, but that's nice. It kind of keeps things a little bit more intimate and very close. But I just remember as soon as we walked in there, the guys that were there were very welcoming. They talked to us about the games they played, the things that they do, the games that they have, and what they play currently, et cetera, et cetera. We were talking a little bit and joking around. It was just a really, really cool, really fun, really fun thing that we did. And then what did we decide to do? We decided to come there on Friday after we ate dinner, check out, because they were going to play this game called Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl is a fantasy game. It's a fantasy tabletop game. If you're not familiar, it's based off of this other fantasy war game. It's called Warhammer. I'm not going to get into the details. You can look it up yourselves later on the Googs or on the DuckDuckGo or on the Bing or Alta Vista, whatever. If you're feeling frothy, if you're feeling froggy, go on, do it on Alta Vista. All right, just do it on you. So this is an offshoot game or a spin-off game called Blood Bowl. It's based in that same fantasy realm where they're playing football. So we're these two competing factions, which are orcs and humans, I believe, and they're playing a game of football. I've seen this game. It's been around for decades. I've seen it been played before when I was a kid. It looked really cool. It's also it can be a very complicated game with all the dice rolling and the math that you have to do and the stats you got to keep track of, etc. So it's a game that if you're not into that kind of stuff, it's something you should probably avoid. Other than that, it looked really fun. So I wanted to go check it out on Friday. However, they were more through mid-game, so I didn't really get a chance to learn a little bit more about it. But we sat there, we hung out, we got to meet a couple more people and people that we met already that were talking to us, etc. And it was just a really fun night. So my wife and I are really thinking about this could be a little potential place for us to hang out once in a while, especially because she's getting into painting miniatures from Dungeons and Dragons or from Warhammer as well, or whatever fantasy or war games that are out there. She's really she loves to paint, and she really like the fantasy miniatures. They're usually about yay big, about an inch to 2 inches tall, depending on what you get. Sometimes even way bigger than that. Sometimes as big as my hand, but that's a whole nother thing. So she got into it. She painted a mini the other day on Saturday, and she had so much fun doing it. And she was doing that, and I was working on some writing, and the guy was there. We're all talking. He's got Marvel What If playing in the background. It was just having a grand old time, just kicking the tires around and just having a good old time. Yeah, and that's what we've been doing lately, and it's been really fun. So we're really looking forward to coming back, checking out this place again. It just seems like a really fun place. I talked to one of the guys that's a regular there who wants to start a Star Wars role-playing game campaign, which I'm really interested. I would love, if he lets me know, I would love to play with him, because usually I'm always the dungeon master or the game master. I'm never a player. My history with Dungeons and Dragons, I may have mentioned this before with tabletop role-playing, it's never really worked out for me as a player. So I always knew that I was going to be the guy that ends up being the DM, because I wanted to go right. And I feel as if I can never really depend on anybody else. So hopefully in the near future that can change, because I would love to get more experience as a role player versus being a game master. Now, granted, as a game master, you can do, and it often happens, is a lot of role playing yourself, but as many characters, whereas as a player, as a role player in the game, in the campaign, you just only have to focus on one character. Whereas me, I gotta be schizophrenic, and I gotta be the half elf, and then I gotta be the succubus, and then I have to be the king, and then I gotta be the evil villain, and then I gotta be the dorky guy that wants to get drunk. It can become cumbersome. So once in a while, it's just nice to just pump the brakes. And I pumped the brakes for a while. We haven't played since July. So we put the game on pause because recently my roommate moved out and he's back over in LA. And I told everybody in the group chat that we're waiting until he settles down because I don't want to start up a new campaign. And he's still mid unpacking and he's got a business that he also has to unpack. It's not just his house, like his whole family plus a business that they run went from this state to all the way across the country to the other side of the USA, just all the way across on the West Coast. They went from the East to the West. That's what happened. And I don't want to pressure him. So we're just waiting on that. But I would love to play Star Wars role-playing. I would love to play something a little bit more of a sci-fi. I've always been introduced to fantasy role-playing games. I would love to play a more sci-fi setting role-playing game because that just seems really fun to me because I still have yet to even start my solo campaign that I talked about before. I just never pulled the trigger. I've been really distracted with so many other things and I can sit here all day and make excuses, but I have every document that I possibly need printed out and ready to go. I have every possible dice. I have my character sheet ready. I just gotta, I even demoed on how it would go. I just gotta do it. All I really have to do is just freaking do it and then just be done with it. But that's hopefully we get that going. But really, I've been working on a lot of writing, guys. I talked about this before. The story that I wanted to release last August, it didn't happen. I've been working with a creative company, a writing company that helps with coaching and helping you self-publish. I've been working with them. I haven't paid them yet. The person who actually runs the company, he's a friend of mine. I know him from other things. I actually work with them currently. He used to work with me. Now he stopped working with me. Now he's working with me again. And he's going to be trying to help me out, get this going. But currently where it stands, it's at 3,500. No, that'd be way too short. It's a 35,000 worded story. Very short. And it's not a long, they call it a novella, or you can call it a short novel, but I've been reworking it. I'm working on my second draft of this. And I will say in this second draft, I feel that I really looked at it and started seeing where I can really develop characters. So I've been really enjoying this iterative process of writing and proofreading and editing and rewriting and adding things to the story to make it feel more right, to make it feel more complete in the direction that I wanted to go. Now, granted, I don't want it to be a very long story. The last thing I want to do is add another 25,000 words to this because I'm not going to do this. The whole point of the story is that I want it to be very short, very sweet, to the point, and as a way to get myself out there. That's what I'm working on. I want to publish myself and put my work out there for you guys to read one day and give me positive feedback or even scrutinize me and tell me that I'm a terrible writer and I should work at McDonald's. I don't know. I really don't care. I just wanted to be out there. That's all I really want in my life. Just to say that I have published work out there to feel more accomplished in my life and that I can keep doing it again because I do have another novel that I first worked on, oh my goodness, like over 10 years ago. And as of a couple years ago, I rewrote the whole damn thing and it's not even finished. And it's a story that has gone up to 50,000 words. And I want that. It's another little novella, little novel, whatever you want to call it. And it's another one that I want to put out there. It's a story that I really thought about. I remember I created it after I had this breakup. It wasn't terrible. I was pretty despondent. After this breakup, but I remember I wanted to do something after we were done. And I said, you know what? There's this event coming up in November called National Novel Writing Month. This idea popped into my head for a story. And I just went for it that day. On October 31st, midnight, when it became November 1st, I just started clickety-clacking and tapping away at the keys. And then ever since then, I just kind of had this passion for wanting to be a writer and tell stories. And but it's a story that I really loved. I've talked about it with a few people who are very close to me, including my wife. I told my wife about the story. She's even read a few chapters of it and she loved it. I talked to another writer about it. He loved it very much. And if he really loved it, he would copy it by now and you would have saw it on the shelves or saw it on your old Amazon Kindle on sale for $2.99. Something like that. But I haven't seen it happen yet. So the story's up for grabs, I suppose. And there's some of the things that have been going on in my life in the last 20 minutes that I have been talking, and Richie hasn't shown up. So I'm going to check my phone in a minute, and I'm going to just for a second, I'm just going to blue, blah, 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 da, 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 da. No message yet on where Ricky whereabouts are. So we're going to carry on, guys. Could be a short show, guys. We'll see how everything plays out. I'll shoot from the hip. I've done this before on my own podcast way back, not that long ago. I think like a couple of years ago, I used to have my own podcast called Who's Listening with me, Leon Andrews. It was a little show that I did with just a little something that I used to do back in the day, not that long ago, a couple of years ago. You could check it out. You can find it on Anchor, and where else did I release it on? Oh, Spotify. It's on Spotify. That's right. One thing, guys, getting back into gaming, I'm really excited because one of the games that was at this store, Table Action Games, they had this game called BattleTech. If you're not familiar, it is a game. It's a war game. It can be played as a war game, and I think it's kind of considered a role-playing game at the same time, where you're pilots in mechs. And it's about people in big giant mech suits fighting each other on a battlefield. I remember I played this before as a kid. I really liked it. It can be a very complex game because there's tables that you have to roll on, and those tables have tables that you roll on, sort of like that. The guy that runs the store said he only played BattleTech once, and he's really interested he liked it, and he's interested in playing it. And I, who played it as a kid so many years ago, I want to play it again. It was a game that I really, really enjoyed. I played that one I played that tabletop war game twice in my life, but I remember really liking it. And then I played a lot the collectible card game that was out for BattleTech, and I lost I don't know where my deck is at. I lost. It's been lost in time. I don't know where it's at. I'm pretty sure it's just gone at this point. But it was these collectible cards that you were able to make decks based off of clans or these Innisphere factions kind of thing, and then you made a deck based off of that. It was a fun game, pretty complex, but so once you really understood the rules and how everything worked, it was such a very fun game. And now I actually recently supported a Kickstarter called Redline or Siege. I can't remember exactly. They just got funded as of last week, and I paid for them to do a new expansion. And I saw it, and it immediately reminded me of the BattleTech card game. So I just impulsively just said, I gotta support this. This is amazing. So I have having these things kind of almost a nostalgia level come back to me, and I love to play BattleTech again. So I'm more than happy to go back sometime this week. I actually got the guy's number. I'm gonna text him, let him know when I'm free, so we can find a time to make it work so we can play again. I definitely got to reread the rules, and I'm excited about that. And I just want to play that game again. It was fun. And if you guys are not familiar with BattleTech, if you ever played anything called Mech Warrior, it was an old game. My understanding with the whole BattleTech Mech Warrior IP is a really complicated thing of borrowed, stolen intellectual properties, including intellectual properties from Japan, and they went into like a whole thing. So there was a point where BattleTech kind of phased away from existence, and I learned that recently, it was as recent as 2015, they finally settled everything. So BattleTech has been back ever since then. So I'm actually very interested in that whole history. But then again, I'm a freaking nerd. and I like nerd things, and I like listening and knowing history about certain technologies and games and how things came to be and how shows are made or TV or movies are made, etc., or how companies are formed or what inspired the idea. I'm super interested in stuff like that. And and as on continuing on the topic of gaming and nostalgia, I recently completed a game that came out in 2000, and it was a game that came out on PlayStation 1 back in the year 2000. Yeah, way before, just way before the PS2 was coming out. Well, the PS2 was just but a dream of a fever man in Japan. But I played this game. It's called Vagrant Story. It was developed by Squaresoft, now Square Enix, as we all know them now. But it was a game. It was a sort of a tactical role-playing game. However, this game is pretty complex and has a lot of mechanics and systems that are just not very well explained in the manual. Not even inside the game in-game manual at all. It does its best to explain things, but it doesn't do the best of jobs. So they talk about certain statuses and certain numbers and what they mean. However, it goes way further than that in terms of like what you need to do to really play through and beat enemies. I remember playing, I've had several startups of this game, and I would slow down at some point. I would get a little further than the last time, but then I would slow down and get stuck somewhere and shelve the game for a little bit and focus on another game that I can start all the way to finish. And it's been 20 years. And then this year I told myself, Leon, you are going to play this game and you're going to finish it this time. And last Thursday I did, to the point it was almost unbelievable. I wanted to kind of cry. I was very much taken aback and caught off that there was just this incredulity of the experience where I couldn't believe it, and it made me want to cry in a way. And it's dumb. It's really dumb to want to cry over again. But there was that point and my wife and a friend of hers were on the couch talking. He was about to leave, and they were still talking a little bit about something. And I did the last hit that I needed to do on the final boss. And when it did the thing where it showed that it was going to trigger a cutscene, I was just in speechless mode. But it's a game, Vagrant Story. If you guys ever want a hidden gem, it's got a small cult following. Even to this day, people who play this game that way back when to whenever, all the way up until present time, have a small community, even on Reddit, and they all talk about this game. It's got a very small cult. It's got a very small cult following to the degree that a lot of the fans want a remastered version of this game. Not a remake, a remastered version of this game. Keep the mechanics the same. If you got to update, you want to smooth out the graphics a little bit, great. Because when you really notice PS1 graphics on a 65-inch 4K enabled TV, you notice some shit. You notice some details that are just not detailed. But overall, it never took away from my experience with the game, because when you play a game from 20 years ago, you expect a difference in its graphical presentation, and I'm completely okay with that. I actually find the game's look and visuals to be quite charming, but that's just me. I'm a guy that grew up in the 90s and then the 2000s, so I grew up with video games going from 8-bit to 16-bit to 32-bit to 64-bit to what we even have now. And I don't really play a lot of the games that come out now. I'm not that interested in what the new releases and the new titles. Now, granted, some of them look really good. I would like to play them one day, but I'm just not that interested. I'm kind of staying retro. I'm playing games from a couple of years ago. I'm playing games from like 10 years ago. I'm playing games from like 20 years ago. And in case in point, I finished Final Fantasy IX on the Nintendo Switch. There was a remaster version of it. Played it from beginning to end, and I did enjoy the story, although I did not care for the level grinding. If there's anything I miss about Japanese role-playing games, it's the level grinding you have to do at some point, where I made my characters go all the way up to almost the end boss, and the lowest level was 47. and I got spanked. And so I had to sit and grind my characters until they were level 93 to have a very periodic battle with the final boss. And it took me like an additional 15, 20 hours to do. I'm not a fan of that. I could have been doing something else, but I really wanted to play Final Fantasy IX for the nostalgia to see if it, for me, still holds up. I really feel it's my favorite Final Fantasy game out of all the ones that I played, which were 7, 8, 9, 10, and that was it. I don't think I played any other Final Fantasy. I started playing Final Fantasy 3, that whole remake they did on Nintendo. They did it on 3DS. No, they did it on DS first, and then they released it on Android and iOS, and so I've been playing it on my Kindle, but I actually got to a point where I just stopped playing. I just lost interest in that game, but I really should play it because it was a pretty good game. I did like it. But going back to playing this Vagrant Story, so now I'm playing it again on New Game Plus, and I will tell you it's a lot easier. Even though there was kind of a level grinding in Vagrant Story, I still liked it. There was something very engaging about its gameplay, although primitive, and I still very much enjoyed it. The game kept me really engaged, and when I got into people's guides online and read not how they beat bosses, but how they managed equipment and how they combined certain weapons to one weapon and then explained certain statuses and elements in the game to help me understand the game so much better. It was just night and day how the way I ended up playing the game. And now that I'm on New Game Plus, it gets you keep whatever was the HP, the health points that you had at the end of the game, plus the magic points that you had at the end of the game. So you go back in with a much more powerful, more shaped up character. Plus you have all the weapons you had when you got to the end of the game. So that was fun. So I'm spanking everybody, and I got through a dungeon like that. It took me like 35 minutes to get to this dungeon. When I first played it, it took me about 2.5 hours over a course of like 2 weeks. So that's been really fun. Really, really fun. And that's a lot of the things that it's kind of going on in the universe of Leon. Having fun playing video games, getting back into tabletop gaming and war games again. My wife with her cosplaying and me with my writing. We're doing all these creative things and we're having fun and we're putting ourselves out there. We're getting followers every day, more her than me. But then again, people like following chicks more than dudes. That's just a thing. I don't know why. I think I got a lot to offer if you ask me. I mean, I got this do-rag on. I mean, look at this do-rag. You know anyone that can just... Spencer can't rock this do-rag. Ricky can't rock this do-rag. Only Leon can rock this do-rag. Okay, let's talk about that. Leon can rock this do-rag in a tanky. What up? Every day, I look like I just go to Walmart like this, and I have to go get cat litter and just get cat litter and just get out. You got to get that cat litter and get out. I don't want to get stuck there shopping. Ain't gonna happen. No. Get in, get out. No looky loose. Move it. So that's Leon. Leon's doing his thing. He's on his Insta. He's on his blog. You can catch me on my blog, stillfoxes.home.blog. And be sure to follow my wife on Kitsu Cosplay, KITSUCOSPLAY. And then you can also follow her on Haley, HAYLEY, Makes Stuff. And you can see all the crafting of arts that she does that she'll post on her gram for you guys. So she's got a couple of gram accounts those are the two I will mention. And then of course you got me as Alternative Zen with an underscore in between the two words on the gram, and then one word Alternative Zen on the Twitter. So you guys can always catch me on that. Follow me. We can talk about it. And then of course you have the other show that Spencer and I do where it's Space Made in a Hollywood Basement. We're currently covering the Star Trek movies, and we got other things that are going to be coming up because we only know that there's all together when you include Galaxy Quest, Star Trek, and the remakes of Star Trek. You have all about doing the math in my head really quickly, 16 movies to watch. So that thing has a hole. I mean, not a hole. There's a light at the end of that tunnel. It's going to end at some point. So we already talked about doing other things. We want to take the show we want to take that part of this show a little bit further for you guys and talk about some other things that we want to watch and recap with you guys, including into the month of October and Halloween. So we have a little bit more horror themed sci-fi to watch with you guys. So if you be on the lookout for that as it comes out, guys, I really do appreciate you. This is Leon Andrews, and on behalf of Spencer and on behalf of Ricky, thanks for listening. Hang loose, stay loose, guys.